All right, welcome back, guys. So we're going to give you a engine assembly tip before we go on here. You see we got the Eagle rods on here. We had a machine shop take a ball mill and cut a slot in the bottom of the rod right there. So that'll act as an oil squirter. Got that idea from some guys who are racing a Porsche motor. That's all they do. And then end up with a primitive oil squirter, which the factory rods have an oil squirter hole in them in the side of the rod. They're machined that way. We don't want to modify the rod like that because I'm afraid it would affect the strength. So this is a nice compromise. So yeah, that's what we do. But anyway, the topic of this video is getting these rods ready to go. And I wanted to give you a little tip here. Of course, we have the ARP assembly lube, the Moly lube, and what I did is you break this all down and you clean it all out. The factory has a little bit of lubricant on there. We clean that completely off, and then we start with our ARP lube. So the tip being, we brush it on and we completely cover the threads, and we're not afraid to get a little bit extra on there because if you notice, the shaft of the bolt is undercut. So as we tighten this down, it's going to squeeze some of that lubricant out, but we're not worried about that because there's a recess. The undercut shaft up here is actually a recess for the extra lube. And if you notice, this bolt goes in here, and it can move around a little bit. Of course, then it locks in on with these little locking rings here, that positively locates the rod, locating pins. So the other thing we want to do is we want to put a little bit of lubricant underneath the head of the bolt, because let me get one that's clean here. This surface right here, that's what makes contact with the rod, and that is a friction surface. So whenever you're torquing this down, you have the lubricant on the threads, but and that's all good, but as that tightens down, there's a lot of friction up here on the bolt head, right there. So as that's turning, get this focused here, as that's turning, there's a lot of friction on that, and so we put a little bit of the Moly lube underneath the head of the bolt. You don't have to go crazy. You can't really put too much on, but you don't have to go crazy and make a mess. But that's one of the things that we do to make sure that we get the bolts torqued down correctly. Hope you enjoyed this. Good. Like and subscribe.